Welcome back. Mr. Midnight is still missing. He will be back soon, do not worry. Today I will be sharing with you 4 scary stories about demons. So buckle up and remember that darkness always follows. And before I move ahead, make sure you like and subscribe if you think demons exist. Let's get into this. My uncle's demon possession. My dad told me this story about when we lived in Mexico when I was little to keep me from trying stupid shiz like Ouija boards and cursed objects, stuff like that. When my uncle was about 15, he had been walking on a trail leading to a forest when along the way he saw a middle-aged lady who told him to stop walking the way he was going. My uncle, being young and kinda stupid, had ignored this and continued to walk the path he was on. As he continued, he began feeling like something was watching him or following him and began seeing weird stuff at the corner of his eyes. I guess that's when my uncle decided to head back because he started to get a little spooked. Right halfway, my uncle had been acting out of the ordinary. He was more aggressive and angrier, which was strange because he was a relatively calm dude. To the point where he started to flat out threaten everybody in the house, which consisted of, "I'm gonna kill all of you," or "You're all gonna die," in a voice that knew was not my uncle's. Eventually, he started to get physical, throwing chairs, attacking his brothers, including my dad, and overall being a nutcase. My grandma right away called the priest, believing he was possessed. While the priest was performing an exorcism, whatever was in my uncle had started to struggle, spit, make threatening gestures, you name it. Whatever was possessing my uncle turned to my dad and said, "One day I'm coming back to kill you." Yikes. My true scary childhood stories. All of my life I've had a ghost or a spirit or a demon, whatever you want to call it, but have lived in a lot of different houses in my whole 16 years of life. My first house was a pretty small house, and my father had told me that he would see a woman walking outside of the house and he would hear me, an infant, coo and giggle at things through the baby monitor, and he would go into the room to see if one of my sisters were awake and playing with me, and he said they were always sound asleep. My second house was about a quarter of a mile from my first house, and it's right next to the house I'm living in right now. I was a couple months old when I first moved in. I was about 1, and there is 2 windows on both sides of the front door. I was staring at something out one of the windows, and my mother comes over and asks what I'm staring at. And I turned to her, looked her dead in the eye, and I said, "I'm looking at the man in the front yard." My mother looked out the window and said, "What man? I don't see a man." And I said, "Don't you see him? He looks like a spider." And my mother was a very superstitious woman, so she just about had a heart attack. Fast forward to when I was about 3, and me and my mum were talking about my day, and I said something like, "Have you met my other mummy?" And my mother froze and got super freaked out. When I was about 5, I remember it was Christmas Eve, and I was sleeping in my sister's room, and she asked me to go get her a glass of water. So I started heading to the kitchen, and you have to pass the living room to get to the kitchen, and I glanced at the living room and saw 2 little girls. And as I saw them, they looked at me, and my sister comes out of the room and says, "Not in the kitchen, in the bathroom." As I looked back to look at the girls, they were gone. This story was told by my sister when she was in high school. She was walking down the hallway. She passed by my room. She saw a little girl digging through my toy box. At first, my sister thought it was me, So she kept walking, but she took a couple of steps. Then she realized I wasn't at home, and so she walked back to my room, and the room was empty. I moved to the house after my mother died when I was about 7. By this time, my older sisters, had moved out and my mother had passed away, so it was just me, my little brother, and my father. My brother and I had never liked going into the master bedroom. We found it creepy. A couple of years later, I was a sophomore and I had been battling severe depression from my father being abusive and my mother dying when I was younger. Plus, I got diagnosed with bipolar, anxiety, and eating disorders, and a bunch of other things. I moved into the master bedroom that I thought was creepy when I was younger, but I found myself becoming obsessed with the room. I would isolate myself in the room and self-harm almost every week since I lived in that house. I've tried to kill myself 4 times. I would get angry when someone would come in without my permission. And it got to the point where there was one day where my brother went into my room. I got so angry I blacked out and woke up with my best friend holding me down and my brother with a black eye and a busted lip. I felt horrible. I hated myself. I still haven't forgiven myself for it. I would see dark figures in my room at night. My boyfriend said he'd seen a dark black figure walk into my room and close the door. And there was a time I was home alone. I can't even describe the emotion I felt. It was feeling like I was going insane. I kept seeing things pass by the room. I was in something in my head kept telling me to kill myself. But since I've moved out of the house, I have not experienced any urges to self-harm or harm others. So I'll end it here. If you'll like it, I'll tell you more of my stories. Comment down below what you thought of my stories and what are some of your stories. Why did I agree to this dare? I can't believe my friends made me do this, I say as I walk through the crypt. A sound flows through the corridors, a sound of chanting. It's just my imagination. Calm down, man, I say to myself. I walk through and step on something hard and sharp. The hell, a human skull? No, it just fell off a shelf, but it looks fresh. I examine and continue until I get to the corridor. I can see a faint glow through one of the corridors. Maybe there's a tour going on, I think out loud. There it is, the chanting again, except it's louder. I find the light source, and as I thought, it was a tour group of young adults. It's dangerous to be out here, I think. I go to talk to them, but I hit my head and I'm instantly unconscious. As soon as I wake up, I look for light and see a torch. I shine it and is that blood? Holy shiz. I think I'm gonna throw up. Their organs are strewn across the cold damp floor. Looks of fear and betrayal in their eyes. Some of them don't even have eyes. Some of them are missing limbs or have only bone. I can't believe this is happening. I run as far as I can. I soon realize I'm running further into the crypt. I turn around to run out, but I can't remember which way I came in. I have to find a way out. The chanting. The chanting is back. I don't understand how, but it's even louder. I follow it, but it stays the same volume, like it's right next to me. I start running towards it and come into a dark room with drawings made of blood on the wall and candles in a neat circle. Something in the middle is making the chanting. I turn my torch on and holy M. My friends, they're in a kneeling position, chanting. But they can't be. Their jaws are broken. swing from the moment of their heads like swings attached with tendons. Their eyes have been gouged out and their hands have almost been snapped off. But they're still chanting in a single voice. One of them is still alive. I run to them and ask them who did this. They scream, "Stay the F away from me," and start running. I don't understand. The chanting louder again, like my whole head is wrapped in the sound of the horrifying demonic chanting. I can't take it. I rip off their jaws and start pounding on their heads with a rock. I just want it to stop. Make it stop. Make it stop. Make it stop. I run as soon as I can see what I did to their corpse. I see a light, I run, but the light seems to only get further away. I see something, no, three things, three red figures standing in the light. I rush towards them. They did this. It's their fault. I hit the first one square in the face with a rock. It seems to be confused and scared. I don't care. I hit it over and over and over. It stops moving. I made a demon stop moving, and it felt good. I proceed to break his legs of the other two, then drop the rock on one of their heads and break the other's neck. The second one survived the rock and now it's getting up. I jump on it and press my thumbs in its eyes until I hear a pop. I then crush its head. I run through the light and don't stop running until I'm home. I go to wash myself and I see the mirror. No. No. I can't be. I can't be one of them. I have to die. I grab a gun and 9 people were found dead in the crypt. 6 were in a tour group and the other 3 were friends of the killer. The tour group seemed like they were killed with bare hands. The killer then dragged 3 corpses to a satanic worshipping group hidden deep in the heart of the crypt. The friends of the killer were found near the exit of the crypt, all mutilated in horrifying ways. The killer was found dead in his bathroom from a gunshot to the head. The police are investigating why. I send my apologies to the families involved in this. The night alone. I have 2 brothers that live with me along with my single mom, so usually I have company. But on this night, I was lucky to be by myself. My mom was somewhere with friends, I assume. My older brother was out drinking, and my younger brother was with a friend spending the night. I had been watching The Twilight Zone most of the night along with scary YouTube videos. Usually they don't bother me, and this time was no different until I went into the kitchen. Something was watching me. I could feel it. I shook it off as paranoid thoughts. I opened the fridge and saw that there was a lot of beer and other alcoholic beverages left. I'm not much of a drinker, but my boredom got the best of me and I started drinking them. I was watching the YouTube videos again, this time about ghosts, when that feeling hit me again. I had drank enough to do away with my motor skills, so I got up and stumbled or looked around and asked whatever it was to show itself. Nothing happened, so I shook it off again and went back to the videos, syncing my phone to the TV so I could get close and drown everything out with noise. I then started to hear a girl screaming. I assumed it was a part of the video as I turned the TV down, but the screaming was still just as loud as it was hurting my head. I covered my ears and went to go outside, stumbling the whole way. As I opened the door, I noticed I didn't feel any temperature change like I expected. It had been a cold night, and earlier when I let one of the dogs in, It chilled my exposed skin, as I was only wearing shorts and no shirt. I was shocked to see that I was right back in my living room. I couldn't believe it, so I turned around and opened the door again. Still, I returned to my living room. The screaming was now as loud as ever, and I covered my ears, sinking to the floor, almost to tears with the cold door on my back. I closed my eyes and sank into a sleep somehow. I awoke on my couch, and my phone was on the floor. I thought the happenings as my dream. I grabbed my phone and it had a text from a named contact that read, "Him." Along with the text reading, "There is no escape. We have come to claim your sanity." Then I could feel the eyes on me, and I ran to my room, which is only separated by a curtain on a rod. I fell in my drunken haste through the curtain and landed in my bathroom on the tile floor. I got up and went to the window as the screaming started again. I ignored it the best I could, but it was so loud. I broke the screen and crawled out, feeling the cold night air on my skin as I fell. It was dark, and I seemed to fall forever. To my horror, a face appeared in front of me. It was human with sunken eyes that had little white lights in the back and twisted long teeth that showed through its smile. I went to scream, but it was cut short as I landed hard on my kitchen floor. The wood under my face felt oddly warm, and I put my hands under me to support myself to get up. Then the carpet started to move as it was breathing. I ran into the living room right ahead of me. It was the actual living room. My heart was pounding as I couldn't believe what was happening. I got another text and I pulled out my phone to read the him contact had sent me another spine-chilling message. This one read, "There is no escape. Check the time." Sure enough, my phone's clock read 9:30 p.m. The time it was when I started drinking. I pressed the call button and didn't even ring as a voice that was gruff spoke through the speaker. "We know how to take you. Just give up." I looked around as I heard scratching from every direction. My heart felt as if it was about to burst, and my head was throbbing. I was dripping a cold sweat as fingers poked through the wall. They were bloody and unusually long for human fingers. I tried the last room I could, my mum's room. I went in there to find the creature in complete darkness, its smile dripping with a dark liquid that flooded the floor. Small hands shot through. Rats fell from the ceiling and on my shoulder. I started screaming, but nothing came out. I could feel their warm, wet fur on my shoulder and hear them. I started kicking and thrashing at them. Then I looked back at the creature as it opened its mouth to send more ooze onto the floor. The hands crawled to small, proclaimed dolls. The soulless glass eyes looked into mine as they in unison made a giggling sound that transformed into a demonic laugh. I started to walk back as their eyes started tearing blood, but their thin smile stayed. The rats were crawling at my feet as I turned and ran, the creature in the middle of the room, not moving. I was back in the living room and slamming the door behind me, crying in fear. Then I felt a hand on my face, cold as ice, as it let blood drip down my cheek onto my chest. I leaned forward and screamed, crawling away from it. I looked around, sobbing as I saw the fingers now had arms and hands. They were muscled all the way up to their wrists. The room seemed to breathe as it expanded and shrunk. I could feel a hot air come from the open doorways that seemed to burn my skin. I crawled to the bathroom and ended up in my bedroom. Bright red eyes seemed to cover the windows, and the screaming started again. I was scared, confused, and hurting from my head to my overworked heart as I backed my back against the wall and covered my ears, crying. I felt a vibration on my leg and pulled out my phone. It was him. The message was sent, and it gave me a bigger panic. It read, "This is only the beginning." I tried 911 even though I knew it wouldn't work. When I typed the three numbers, it wouldn't appear on the screen. I begged with whatever was there to let me go, and I heard a voice that seemed to come from my own thoughts, but I knew was not my own, say, "Your sanity will be ours." I ran back out of the room and came into the living room. I ran towards the door of my mum's room and swung it open. I screamed as I fell into the black ooze. I expected thick slimy goo, but I fell free fall into darkness. The creature started appearing everywhere and reaching its abnormally long hands at me, barely missing. I went to scream at it, but my voice was gone. Then I hit something cold and covered in rocks. I was in my driveway and my mum was pulling up. I got up and moved out of her way. She asked why I was crying, but smelled the beer and put it off as me being dramatic. I begged her to not go inside, and she ignored me walking in the door. I followed her as she went in with nothing happening. I followed, then the creature smiled at me from the ceiling, and I was back in the basement. I heard my mother's cry for help as it tortured her for what seemed like days, sending body part after body part. Here I lay on the cold cement floor after what feels like weeks. I haven't gotten anything to eat or drink from the creature. He leaves me down there in my drunken haze. My phone still charged with the time 9:30 p.m. at the top. My mum's head on a spike as its twisted features stuck in fear, staring at me. My brothers had returned home. I could hear them, but they were spared. I could hear the cops search the house. I could hear them in the basement, but could not see them. I screamed and screamed and nothing good happening. They found Mum's body, but no head. I could hear them and how they blamed me. I've tried to kill myself at least 100 times. Every time appearing the damp dark hell with that damn monster grinning at me. He talks to me. He tells me I can help him rule. I just have to give my sanity to him. He says I can torture whoever I want. With every time I refuse his offer, he sends something new and twisted after me. Last time, it was my mother's head telling me how I could have saved her. It then opened its jaw to where I could fit my head in it. It then let locusts out, eating me alive. Of course, I came back here. I've cried all my tears and now numb to everything. The creature's deal seeming like my only escape. And you know what? I know a few people who could die. Well, now I'm going to be mentioning the authors and reviewing each story. So the first story was by a press twig, and it was titled "My Uncle's Demon Possession." And now, possessions are scary and are real, and sometimes exorcisms work and they don't. And yes, when these demons possess you, they have reasons of possessing you. Maybe they like you, maybe they don't like you, that's why they possess you. Maybe someone sent them. So getting rid of them is hard because, people and demons are like us, meaning they have feelings and emotions. Maybe they don't like you, so they want to annoy you and hurt you and harm you. So yes, going to a person that can get rid of them is very important. I rate this a 7 out of 10. It's very short but very scary. The second story was my true scary childhood stories. This sounds like is scary. Houses are scary, to be honest. I don't know why. New houses, definitely. Make sure you, if you're whatever culture you are, make sure you bless the house, I guess, or whatever you guys do in your own culture to ward away evil spirits or demons. But I guess the last story kind of basically says that you have a demon in the house that is controlling your emotions, or maybe you are possessed. Who knows? To be honest, I'm not expert in this field, but your houses that you're going to, maybe actually it's not the houses that you visit, maybe it's the fact that there's a demon following you your whole life. I feel like it's one demon that is stuck with you, that is haunting you, and that is causing you problems. This was a very scary read. I give it 10 out of 10. Now, I forgot to actually mention the author. The author was Bugs Bunny, and the title of the story was My True Scary Childhood Stories. Now, the third story I read was by Jenkin Man, and it was titled Why Did I Agree to This Dare? It sounds like a very scary killer slash satanic ritual story, I guess. It's scary, very different and unique, to be honest. Like, we find out after that the killer is him, and I guess he is possessed. So I guess all three stories were about possession. Now, the final story was called The Night Alone, and it was by Is Julian. And this story, it was okay, to be honest. It was too many twists and turns. I feel like, to be honest, the guy's possessed as well, or he's too drunk to know what's going on, to be honest. I think it's the latter. He's too drunk, to be honest. I give this one a 4 out of 10. I didn't enjoy reading this one. But it was a good written story. I did enjoy it. And that's it for today. I hope you guys were scared. I'll see you again very soon. And always remember, the darkness always follows.